Hello and welcome to the land of the clouds, where hopes and dreams come to those who wield them to life, and I hope you don't mind getting a little lost with me here. My name is Lillian Jasper, and today I'll be talking a little bit about one of my favorite shows, Hazbin Hotel. Specifically, I'm doing a countdown on who my favorite characters are. Season 2 concluded some time ago, but I'm still on my Helliverse high at the moment, so let's have a little bit of fun with it, yeah? So today I'll be doing a top 10 list of my favorite characters from Hazbin Hotel. I'm not gonna lie, I had a hard time narrowing down which characters are truly my favorites. I don't think there's a single character in the show that I can genuinely say I dislike. It literally ranges from, oh, you're here, that's cool, to, oh my god, there goes my baby, I love you. Also, I initially didn't feel like I needed to put this disclaimer in, but you know what, liking a certain character doesn't mean that I condone the actions of them. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but nuance is practically dead in fandom. Now, without further ado, let's begin with the number 10th spot on my list.
Those souls could, with more faith in them, be good, be changed.
Man, I did not expect myself to like Sarah as much as I did, but her character development in Season 2 really did it for me. With the way she was portrayed in her debut episode Welcome to Heaven, I was worried she was gonna be a Seti from the Prince of Egypt type character where she does have some regret for her decision for allowing the exterminations to go on, but still tries to rationalize the sinners because of a possible uprising.
The Hebrews grew too numerous. They might have risen against us.
Father, tell me you didn't do this.
Moses, sometimes, for the greater good, sacrifices must be made.
Sacrifices?
Oh, my son, they were only slaves.
But then Storyteller comes in, I love that episode by the way, where Serpentius' hearing goes on and she realizes that not only can sinners be redeemed, but her decision to kill off sinners robbed them of the chance to possibly redeem themselves. Put myself in her position, I too would think, ah, what have I done? Yes, she does have a moment of backsliding when she encounters Vox and he goads her into admitting that sinners like him are the reason why she allowed the exterminations to happen in the first place. And while it isn't justified, it does really go to show you that not every sinner is gonna be like Serpentius. And while Vox shouldn't be the one to say it, he wasn't completely wrong about heaven thinking that they can just turn things around with a simple sorry and a couple of gift baskets. That was the equivalent of putting a bandage on a bullet wound. This was full-on we're talking about here, and thousands of sinners' corpses at your feet. Yes, most of which probably deserved to be down in hell in the first place, but erasing them for good was many steps too far. Still, I'm glad she stopped letting fear dictate her decisions and start trying to solve things as peacefully as possible, thanks to the help of Serpentius, Emily, and especially, though indirectly, Charlie. I will always have a soft spot for characters who make mistakes, realize how hard they f***ed up, and try to do better to improve themselves, along with doing right by the people they hurt. So why not with Sarah? I guess I'll also have to talk about character design too, because that also plays a part in me liking a character, especially if I want to draw them. Personally, I do like the character designs of the Helliverse across the board. I'm not some character design professional, so I'm just giving my opinions on what I like and dislike about it. Sarah's design screams a woman in charge, but in the most sophisticated way possible. She has a pretty muted color palette, but the colors are all sectioned off pretty well so that nothing on her dress, wings, and hair get lost in her design. I love that her halo is in the shape of a crown on the top of her head, signaling her status as the leader of the angels, and that her hair resembles feathers. I get massive bird vibes from all of her different forms, and yes, I know she's an angel, but she's the only angel character I get bird vibes from. Minus the Speaker of God, of course. Anything I actually dislike in her design? Nah, I don't think so. Also, I would be a clown if I did not mention how much I love her singing voice. In general, I love the songs for both seasons. I clap it up for the whole cast. 10 out of 10 performances all around. But Sarah's confession? That felt like it was ripped straight out of a Disney movie, and that had me in a chokehold since Storyteller aired. Live to Live was also a lovely duet between her and Serpentius, but I'll touch more on that song a little bit later in the video. And that's all I've got for Sarah. Sadly, I'll have to keep Sarah at the bottom of the list because I can think of at least 9 other characters I like more than her. Still, I admire her character and I would love to see her again in future seasons.
General Pinchus reporting for duty. I'll turn those rapscallions into soldiers in no time at all.
Ah, Serpentius, my sweet, dapper danger noodle. If you want an example of a character I enjoy much more in the main series than during the pilot era of Hazbin Hotel, I think Serpentius, and another character later on this list, fits that bill perfectly. Despite me saying that, I did enjoy Pinchus as this over-the-top cartoonishly evil villain-type character. He reminds me a bit of Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb, or Megamind in that regard. Like, a bad guy who just isn't that good at it, or a bad guy who could be good, but if given the chance. I also want to note that Pinchus is probably one of the funniest characters in the series for me, aside from Nifty, Adam, Lucifer, and surprisingly Valentino. Again, he's very much a butt monkey and he sometimes has the worst luck, but for most of the time when it happens, it's pretty funny. But back to what I was saying earlier, I really enjoyed Serpentius' growth from the pilot and all throughout the main series. From him starting off with getting his ass beat by Cherry Bomb, Angel Dust, and eventually Alistair, he was basically a punching bag throughout the pilot. But when we're reintroduced to him in Radio Killed the Video Star, that's where I started to sympathize with his character a bit more. He wanted to beat Alistair in hopes to impress the V's, and then when he got wrecked by Alistair for the 21st time, he came back as a spy and immediately got discarded the second he got caught by Angel Dust. Seriously, hearing Vox tell him to go play in traffic if the hotel staff doesn't end him first before leaving him at their mercy was pretty messed up. But I really love that Charlie taking mercy on him and welcoming him as a guest for real was the starting point of his character development, and it just gets better from there. Though I wish the seasons had more episodes to show this off, I love seeing him bond with the other hotel members and acknowledging them as his friends. Which hits much harder when we get to know his backstory and why he was sent to hell in the first place. I really love seeing Pinchus' backstory in Storyteller simply because it was one of the many things I was super curious about when it came to the sinners going into Hazbin Hotel. What did they look like when they were alive? How did they die? And what did they do to end up in hell? For starters, I love Pinchus' human form. I know he was a reclusive, middle-aged man from the Victorian era, but I do find him adorable. I want to wrap him up in a blanket and feed him soup. But, yeah, I'm not all that surprised he ended up in hell for his actions and inactions. It's worth noting that not only Pinchus knew Jack the Ripper's true identity, he was also a client of Pinchus, meaning that he possibly supplied the murderer with the means to slaughter his victims. So the fact that Pinchus knew all of this and still actively chose to do nothing about the matter, not even turn him in, kind of falls under the sin of sloth. This, combined with the fact that he lived as a recluse who spent his time watching people from outside his window, makes his sinner form make all the more sense design-wise. Pinchus is covered in eyes and is able to see all the time against his will. And correct me if I'm wrong, but snakes choose to avoid confrontation first by hiding or fleeing, and attacking when cornered. But at the same time, snakes also represent transformation and new beginnings. So the fact that the first ascended sinner was, in fact, a snake makes Pinchus' winter form work too. I admit I didn't like the tonal whiplash of Pinchus' supposed death at the hands of Adam in The Show Must Go On, but the fact that he was willing to put his life on the line for his friends, even with the possibility of being permanently erased looming over him, was very harrowing, and I'm glad he ascended to heaven for it. Speaking of which, circling back to Live, I was surprised by the friendship he developed with Sarah. Hearing him tell her that being afraid, doing what you can to see another day, and making mistakes are what makes us human, and all we can do is forgive ourselves and move forward to change things for the better. Also, having "It Starts With Sorry" reprieved in the song struck a chord in my heart that I was not expecting. And while I'm not the biggest Cherry Snake shipper, I do think their dynamic from rivals to lovers is pretty cute. Oh wait, I almost forgot to talk about the Egg Boys. Pinchus sure loved his Egg Boys so much that he ended his partnership with Baxter to keep them safe from his experimenting. Sure, they didn't have any souls since they were artificially created, but they were still sentient, which makes it all the sadder knowing that when Pinchus got vaporized by Adam's holy light, all of the Egg Boys on the aircraft with him died for good, with Frank being the sole survivor. I wonder if Frank knows that his boss is alive and well in heaven. Also, it was pretty sweet of Emily to create new egg boys for Penchis. I'm not too keen on their design, but it was a very sweet thing of her to do for someone struggling to adjust to his new life and missing his old one. And I think that wraps up my thoughts on Sir Penchis. After gushing about his character for so long, I think it kinda sucks having to put him at 9th place. Still, I'm glad he's on the list regardless.
What up, baby? Saw that you went to my manager. Low blow, Karen.
From one character voiced by Alex Brightman to another. I feel weird putting Adam over Sir Penchis, but I'll say this. I am not immune to villains who are both hammy yet intimidating. When I first watched Overture when season 1 was airing, Adam really stole the show for me. Yeah, he was an arrogant, callous, misogynistic pig of a man-child, but boy was he entertaining. I guess I also have to talk about his design too before I forget. Even though he had a humanoid silhouette in the story of how Charlie told in Overture, my mind never registered that he was wearing a mask the whole time, because he always had it on even when eating. So when Lucifer broke it in The Show Must Go On, I immediately thought, wait, he's just some guy. And that basically sums up his physical appearance, just some guy, with very little to nothing remarkable about him. But I guess that makes sense for somebody who was only in heaven by being the first human there and not on his own merit. I do like that his wings are golden colored, and I like the little A initial on his robe. I do also think he was a pretty good villain for the time we had him. It was pretty wild of me how he casually admitted that the exterminations were never about overpopulation or some possible uprising, but because it was fun to kill sinners for sport. Even more so when he decided to chop the time to the next extermination in half just to be petty. And let's not forget how he revealed that Vaggi was an exorcist to Charlie at possibly the worst moment of her life. And on top of that, he was strong as Until Lucifer pulled up, I don't think he even broke a sweat fighting against the Hazbin gang. He casually destroyed Alistair's shield with a single punch, and despite the brief fight he had with Alistair himself, the way he the way I'm sorry. The way he instantly clapped that damn deer will always be funny. Dumbass really thought he was strong enough to fight. Dumbass thought he was really strong enough to fight. Oh my god. Dumbass really thought he was strong enough to fight an archangel with no angelic weapons. I don't know who you thought you were, but you are not that guy, bro.
That boy getting his ass whooped. That boy getting his ass.
Then after sending Penchis packing to the upper room, Charlie tried to take him on, but quickly got fodderized. She did manage to stab him and throw him around like a ragdoll that one time. Love that for her. But an inexperienced fighter wasn't going to do much against somebody who slaughtered sinners for nearly a decade. Still, the second Lucifer rolled up, it was a rap burrito for Adam, because had Charlie not stopped her father, Lucifer would have turned him into a pile of ash. I also really liked his dynamic with Lute. You would think with how misogynistic Adam was, Lute would probably be annoyed or disgusted with his behavior, but nah, she's just as shitty as he is, and I love that. Villains who are on positive terms with one another but awful to everyone else around them is another trope I really like, okay? Which makes it all the more bittersweet when he gets killed by Nifty and Lute is devastated by it. That sweet smile he gave her before he passed away made me interpret it as, at least I know that I had someone by my side when I kicked the bucket, so thank you, Lute. Especially when I don't think he deserved to have anyone by his side when he died so unceremoniously. He was an awful person all around, awful husband, awful father, and an awful general to boot. Look at how much he traumatized Vaggi. Doubled with the fact that Lute was in love with him this whole time and never got to confess her feelings to him. Again, as awful as the two of them were, I still can't help but feel bad in a way. To this day, I still don't know how I feel about his death at the end of season 1 in terms of the narrative. To me, Adam felt a little too important of a character to die so early in the series, considering how he was connected to the other characters from Abrahamic religions, being Lilith, Eve, Lucifer, and Abel. I feel like there was a lot more story to be told there. Granted, it's still possible to expand on his past and character without him being alive. If Lilith is playing a major role in season 3, I would love a proper Garden of Eden and Fall of Humanity flashback without it being told from a third-person perspective. Don't get me wrong, I love that the show opened with its telling of the story. However, seeing it play out with the actual people involved in the situation would be nice to see. I want to know what happened with Adam and Eve after Lucifer and Lilith were banished to hell for their crimes of giving the fruit of knowledge to Eve. If Adam was the first human soul to enter heaven, does that mean Abel outlived him before he was murdered by Cain? What happened to Eve herself? I just have a lot of questions and I don't know if any of them will be answered, but it would be great if they did. Even still, it's still nice and kinda sad to see him as a fragment of Lute's imagination. It's wild to me that he isn't some idealized version of Adam either. He's literally the same as when he was alive. She really was in love with that shithead. Just wow. Not that I'm complaining, of course, because they honestly deserved each other. Guitar Spear through life and death. Alright, I think that's enough about Adam. Let's move on to the next character on the list.
It seems like, I don't know, you might need a bartender to talk to.
Wow, the character tied to gambling is in the lucky number 7th place. I think of the main cast, Husk might be the second most underrated, soon to be praised. I'm not gonna lie, Husk did kind of fly under the radar for me during the pilot era of the series, which kind of sucked because his introduction was pretty funny to me, with Alistair summoning him out of nowhere and the exchange of dialogue the two of them had.
You thought it would be some kind of big riot just to pull me out of nowhere? You think I'm some kind of clown?
Maybe.
And also how Alistair persuaded him to work at the hotel.
Don't worry, my friend. I can make this more welcoming, if you wish.
What, you think you can buy me with a wink and some cheap booze? Well, you can!
Though despite me saying this, what I did find interesting was his design and his one-off line about losing the ability to love years ago. Like, aw, baby, who hurt you? Him being a cat really makes me wonder what his life as a human was like and how he died. And I'm not sure why Husk has wings, but given his magician motif, I'm assuming it has something to do with doves that magicians use in their magic tricks. While I do miss the playing card symbols in his wings from his pilot design, I do love the pants with the suspenders in his current design. Which in retrospect is pretty funny to me because knowing that he was once an overlord before gambling his soul away to Alistair, he had a whole outfit on. So if the pilot design carried on to the official series, you're telling me Alistair had this man walking around butt booty naked? I guess while we're here I have to talk about Husker Dust for a bit. 6 years ago during the pilot era, if you told me you shipped Husker Dust, I would have told you were crazy, but good on you for shipping them. It only read to me as one-sided flirting and dirty jokes on Angel's side and Husk telling him to fuck off. And that was the case for the first 3 to 4 episodes of the first season, though I did find this exchange pretty funny.
Something about myself, huh? Well, how about this? I love to suck.
I swear to if you say dicks.
Popsicles, you sicko. Get your mind out of the gutter. But you know, dicks too.
But in the back half of Masquerade and onward, oh yeah, I'm all for Husker Dust. With the amount of friction that the two of them had, I was so glad that they got to understand each other a lot better. While Husk was right to tell Angel not to constantly overstep his boundaries, him demanding Angel to take down his metaphorical mask without understanding why it was there in the first place was not the best way to confront Angel. But when Angel finally snaps and tells him that his mask is there as a survival tactic, I love that Husk opens up about his own past and how he was also under the thumb of another overlord. There's no judgment, there's no, oh but my situation was worse, no empty ass, oh it'll be okay. Just two people who are stuck in their own situations with possibly no way out, but they now know that they have each other to lean on. Which makes things going forward hurt all the more. Seriously, with the way things ended in season 2 with Angel willingly going back to the V's to keep his friends, especially Husk, safe, man, just stab me in my actual heart, I'm sure it'll hurt less. Even Husk's sad little to Angel, I fought everything in me not to start crying. How dare you give me this shit and then rip it out of my hands like that, Viv? Husker Dusk aside, can I just say Husk has probably the most unique power set in the series? I have no clue how his powers work with the cards, the dice, the vanishing box, the rings, the flowers, and his own top hat, but they look so visibly appealing in his fights against Velvet in It's a Deal and Curtain Call against Kitty and Valentino. And even better with all his fights that he's in, he was doing so well without being boastful on how powerful he is. I just love that so much. And I'd be a fool not to bring up his singing. Loser Baby and Love in a Bottle have to be one of my favorite songs to come from this series, and I find myself singing at least one of them at least once a day. I thank you for your service, Keith David.
It's time to lose yourself, loathing, excuse yourself, let hope in, baby. Play your card, be who you are, a loser, just.
And yeah, that's Husk. Solid character all around. On to the next, please.
No, I told you you could trust me, and I'm not gonna let you down. I just need to teach them the way I was taught.
Alright, we're pretty much at the middle of this list. Not exactly the middle, but you get what I mean. If I think Husk is the second most underrated character in the main cast, the underrated award goes straight to Vaggi. Even as far back as the pilot era, Vaggi too flew under the radar for me, probably even more so than Husk did, because at least with him, his introduction was made funny thanks to Alistair and Husk's own grumpy nature. For Vaggi, she's arguably the most grounded and realistic character in the main cast, so much so that I mentally wrote her off as Charlie's tough-as-nails girlfriend, and that mindset carried on all the way until Welcome to Heaven. Vaggi being revealed to be a former exorcist was something I'm mad I didn't pick up on prior to the reveal, but all the clues were there, so good on that 10 out of 10 plot twist without it being made purely for shock value. In the pilot era, it was a little bit more obvious in her design, but the angelic spear she carried around should have been the moment where I realized that she was in fact a former exorcist. Not only that, but it really recontextualized Vaggi's character for me, especially in the episode Scrambled Eggs. Vaggi is an angel, and with the way heaven is set up, angels are born into a role they must fulfill and they must follow orders from their superior no matter what. When Vaggi was exiled from heaven for sparing a sinner child, she was mutilated by her leaders and left in hell for dead. But then Charlie found her, and despite thinking she was a sinner, she accepted Vaggi and treated her with kindness, something Vaggi probably never had in heaven. And while it is true Vaggi and Charlie love each other, it does feel like Vaggi treats Charlie more like a savior than a partner, as she is so protective of Charlie and is devoted to doing whatever she can for her, which makes this line,
"If I can't help you, what's the point of me?"
hurt a lot more in retrospect. Season 2 was really where I started to truly appreciate Vaggi's character. For one, I liked that she wanted to change the name Adam gave her, as it was her way of reclaiming her identity as an individual outside of being a former exorcist. And she decided to take it upon herself to manage the hotel when Charlie began to spiral hard throughout the season. But I also like that she began to assert herself a bit more with Charlie, because with everything going on, Charlie started to unintentionally take Vaggi for granted and ignore any good advice she tried to give her in regards to the bad press the hotel was getting, which hit a fever pitch in Silenced. Yes, Vaggi was definitely wrong for going behind Charlie's back to get Lucifer to try and intimidate Vox, and Charlie was right to be upset at both of them for it. However, it wasn't fair that she blew up at Vaggi the way she did, considering how much Vaggi was doing for her, not complaining once by the way, and how patient she was with Charlie, especially when she was equally screwing things up and ignoring her in Hazbin Hotel behind closed doors and It's a Deal. Hell, having Vaggi be the one to call Charlie out on her nonsense was so satisfying, because if anyone had to do it, it had to be the person who's been her #1 supporter since day one. And while their petty squabbling at the beginning of Scream Rain was a bit hard to sit through, I'm glad Charlie recognized her mistake and properly apologized to her girlfriend, who then pulled Charlie out of her spiral and the two reconciled. I gotta say, Easy lives rent-free in my head, and as a Chaggy shipper, I love this duet way more than their More Than Anything reprise back in The Show Must Go On. At the end of the season, I was really happy when Charlie made Vaggi be the actual manager of the Hazbin Hotel and made herself the head counselor. It fit perfectly for me because Vaggi since day one has been holding down at the hotel. Not Alistair, not Lucifer, not Charlie despite her efforts, Vaggi was the rock holding the hotel down, and I love that for the both of them. Outside of Chaggy, I like that Vaggi got to fight and, though temporarily, take down Loot in The Show Must Go On. In my heart of hearts, I would have loved if it was Vaggi in Charlie versus Loot, had Adam not interfere and bitch slap Charlie out of the way. But at the same time, I wouldn't have wanted to take away Vaggi's chance to battle the woman who took her eye and wings. Also, I was a little disappointed for like 5 seconds when they revealed that she only dropped the E at the end of her name in Curtain Call. But even a small change in that to reclaim her name into something well-meaning is way more than enough for me. It's like Blitz, the O is silent. So yeah, that's Vaggi, and after really re-evaluating her character, she's actually pretty great. Sadly, I can only put her in 6th place because the characters on the top half of this list are characters I liked right away as opposed to them growing on me over time. Again, I'm still really happy to have discussed Vaggi because I truly think that she is underrated in the fandom. And now we get to the top 5 of this list.
No activity requires more trust than BDSM, baby.
Oh my darling little spider boy, you deserve so much better. Angel Dust was the character that got me into Hazbin Hotel in the first place. I think the very first time I remember seeing him was in the Daddy Issues animatic on Viv's YouTube channel years ago. At the time, I only knew Viv as the chick who made the animated Die Young music video with the dancing animals and the animation with the segregated owl creatures by the number of eyes they had. I think this was back in 2017 for me if I remember correctly. And rewatching that animatic at the time of me writing the script, I was actually surprised on which characters were in the animatic itself that went on to be actual characters in Hazbin Hotel, being Huss, Nifty, and Mimsy aside from Angel's family. Then I think in 2018, before the Hazbin Hotel pilot came out in October of 2019, a few clips that went on to be parts of the actual pilot were being spoon-fed to us, and it was so nice to see Angel Dust again. Design-wise, I'm not gonna lie, Angel looks like something fresh from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, but maybe that's because his head shape and leg length reminds me of Wilt from that show. Y'all remember Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? I loved that show growing up. Despite the fact that I am scared to death of spiders in real life, I do like characters that have a spider motif to their designs, like the extra limbs and extra eyes. Yeah, I was actually surprised to know that the pink dots on Angel's face are actually extra eyes. For the longest time I thought those were just freckles, but then again they did not match the color of the pink accents on his fur, so I should have known sooner. The one thing in his design I'm a bit curious about is his heterochromatic sclera. Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but I just think it looks pretty interesting. Now for Angel's character, on the surface it's sex, drugs, and even more sex. I know sex jokes can be a bit much, but I don't mind too much. In fact, I do find Angel's crude humor funny at times. I already showed the I love sucking popsicles joke from Scrambled Eggs in Husk's section of the video, but here's a few more with Angel I remember genuinely laughing at when I first heard them.
Ouch! Ooh, such an insult. Let me know when you come up with something creative to call me, you sack of poorly packaged horse. Tell the missus I said hi. Schnuck'em.
Oh, harder, Daddy. Son?
And what can you do, my effeminate fellow?
I can suck your dick.
Ha! No.
Your loss.
You're doing great, vagina. I blame you for this, you crazy bitch!
Most of the time it's just him talking, so the funny sexual quips kind of slowed down when we got to the main series, but I can't say the moments I just showed weren't funny, at least to me. But beneath the surface level sex jokes is where I grew to love and sympathize with Angel. At the time the pilot finally came out, the Dirty Healings comic also came out, which in the storyline took place 2 weeks before the events of the pilot, and I love that we got to see a glimpse of Angel's life, a little bit of his situation with his boss Valentino, and how he, Charlie, and Vaggi all met. And it was great to see Charlie giving Angel a chance for something better. Then came the Attic music video, and it took what I already enjoyed with Angel in both the pilot and Dirty Healings and elevated it in music form. So yeah, before the official series came out, Angel was already my favorite. He didn't have too much going on in Overture though, but I did laugh at the vagina line. He did also have a bit going on in the back half of Radio Kill the Video Star, where he was a little suspicious about Serpentius being a guest at the hotel after he literally tried to attack it earlier, but was a little disappointed with how quickly Charlie accepted Pentius in. Granted, Vaggi is right to call Angel out on the fact that he actively doesn't care about the activities the hotel is offering and harasses the staff, so it's no surprise they took the Pentius as fast as they did. Still, it was pretty of Charlie to make a roleplay script where she framed it that crackheads and sex before marriage is bad. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that she did that unintentionally, but the fact that drugs and sex are a big part of Angel's character, it's almost like Charlie is telling Angel that these things make you a bad person. Also, that moment when Angel was scrolling through his phone and listening to all of Val's messages, that hit a little too close to home for me, and it made me both angry and sad for Angel. Then came Masquerade, which is probably my favorite episode from season 1, and it took everything we knew about Angel in Dirty Healings and Attic and took it to the next level. I won't do an entire rundown of this episode because this video is getting too long, but we really do see how bad things are for Angel here. Everything leading up to the scene with Valentino and Angel in the dressing room, even as far back as Charlie wanting to go to the studio to talk to Val, I knew all too well how it was going to play out, but seeing it actually play out in real time was pretty hard to watch. I can't really say too much on the sexual because I know my experiences are not the same as Angel's, but I sure as hell know what physical and emotional look and sound like. So hearing Angel say that he was fine with damaging himself if it meant Val would let him go was very heartbreaking to hear. Still, I'm glad Angel had Cherry and Husk to lean on because I'm 100% certain Husk was ready to throw hands for Angel when Val hit him in Welcome to Heaven. Then came season 2 and man, Angel just can't catch a break. It was so nice to hear Angel state that he was open enough to actually participate in the hotel activities. My heart actually did a backflip. But you know, when things start off good in a story, it's not gonna stay that way. And Hazbin Hotel Behind Closed Doors was really the start of that. I will say this though, this is a show about redemption, And the process to change oneself for the better is not a linear path. There will be plateaus, sometimes some backsliding. So while seeing where Angel ends up at the end of the season was very heartbreaking, I won't say it's unrealistic. Also, I know Charlie didn't intend for Vox and Velvet to be the ones to report the news coverage for a redemption story from the hotel, but the fact that she still insisted on going through with trying to redeem Angel on camera, knowing that Vox and Val work with Angel's boss, yeah, Charlie, I love you, but girl, you were dead wrong for that. Especially because the train stunt almost got 3 people killed in the process, but I love that the show allowed Angel to be angry with Charlie and the two don't reconcile again from there. Husk was angry at Angel too, but it was more from a place of not wanting Angel to get hurt trying to save someone like him. And the back half of the season? Oh boy. Scream Rain, man. Scream Rain! I'll start off with the casino scene because wow, Angel looked drop dead gorgeous in drag. It was also nice to see Angel in control of his sexual appeal and have people drooling all over him. And Losing Streak? Beautiful. One of my favorite songs from the season, hands down. And it was really nice to see a bit of a role reversal with Angel and Husk, with Angel being the one to pick up Husk when he's the one down on his luck. But that confrontation between Angel and Vox, that honestly might be the scariest thing this series has presented me. I don't know about the rest of you guys out there, but brainwashing and hypnosis actually scare me because you're completely robbed of your autonomy and you're not even aware of it. So the reveal that Vox has been hypnotizing Angel for some time made me sick to my stomach, because once again Angel's autonomy was taken away from him by the V's. What's sadder to me is that Angel's mind was probably the one place he probably felt safe in, and now that's not even the case anymore. Body, soul, and mind no longer belongs to him. And once again, Angel choosing to go back to Val at the end of the season was just heartbreaking to see. I know he's doing it because he didn't want any of his friends in any danger, but man, I just want to give him a hug and tell him it wasn't his fault. Luckily, there's still more story to be told with Hazbin Hotel, and I hope things turn out for the better in the end for Angel. Alright, so the next 4 characters on this list, I kept shuffling them around because at any given moment, any one of them would be in a different ranking depending on how I feel, but I think I came to an order where I'm happy with. With that being said, on to number 4 on this list.
Our brand is perfection, remember? We cannot let ourselves look weak to other overlords or to sinners. We are above petty bull.
Man, am I happy to put Vox this high on this list, and honestly after season 2 I think he earned it. I have a lot to say about him in general, but I'll start with something simpler, his design. Honestly, Vox's design might be one of my favorites across the Helliverse. The V's across the board have more blues in their color scheme, with Valentino's purple skin and Velvet's powers being purple, but Vox is the one with blue as his signature color, and different shades of it followed by the reds and blacks as the accents. Despite being a flat screen TV with a hint of a shark motif going on, a part of me got a bit more of bug vibes from Vox, but I guess that's because of his antennae and the tails on his coat remind me of shells on the back of a roach or a beetle. Honestly, he looks like Plankton and Karen from SpongeBob if they had a child and this was the result. And his body? For the longest time I was wondering where the electronic parts start and the biological parts end, but it's just his head and a bit of his neck that's the former, and the neck down is biological. I do with his UBS port nipples and the gills on his sides. Also, he's also kind of buff. When he lost his sleeves in Curtain Call, his arms were just well defined, and I was just thinking, where were you hiding those guns, Twig Boy? I swear they flaunted Vox's anatomy at me just to make him an iPad at the end of the season. Where is his body? Going from the pilot, Vox was a character I was super curious about, as when Vaggi was talking about Alistair's power, Vox was the one who got the most focus out of all the overlords shown. And in A Day in the Afterlife, we do see Vox briefly on some TVs, and even taunting Alistair through the screens. Unfortunately, I wasn't around when the Voxtagram stuff was going on, so anything that came up during that time, I wasn't there to witness it, and that stuff isn't canon anymore, so in case anyone were to ask me what were my thoughts on them, I don't have anything to say. I will get this negative point out of the way first though. Vox was introduced way too early in the series. I think the show got it right by showing the sinners across Pentagram City buying and engaging with VoxTech's products, but they shouldn't have revealed him right away if he wasn't going to do anything major this season. The only thing of narrative importance Vox did in season 1 was send Penchis to spy at the Hazbin Hotel, because that action did send off a long chain of events to come. And as much as I love Stayed Gone as a duet between Alistair and Vox, it didn't do Vox much favors, as him losing his cool and knocking out the city's power grid made him come off as a bit of a joke villain than a major threat. I think I would have much preferred Vox as an enigmatic figure in the culture of hell for sinners in season 1, and then we don't officially see him until finale in The Show Must Go On if we really wanted to amp up his threat level. But then season 2 came, and Vox? I think it just goes without saying that Vox is the best villain in the Helliverse. I did enjoy Adam as a villain, but he was more of a looming threat, and because he resided in heaven, we didn't get to see too much of him outside of major plot moments. And the closest we got to major antagonists and a hell of a boss would be Stella and Andrielphus, but they're far less active than Vox. Though they definitely screwed Stolas over in the last 2 episodes of season 2. But back to Vox, he was very active as a villain. Every episode he was in, he was getting done. From slandering Charlie in the Hazbin Hotel, using Angel as a spy to gather the info he needed, convincing other overlords and sinners to join him in his crusade against heaven, and using Lucifer as a battery for the Might of Lilith to destroy heaven's barrier and gate. Which, I can't be the only one who got Eggman destroying half the moon with the Eclipse Cannon and Sonic Adventure 2 vibes from that one, right? Also, because of the protagonist's inability to work together throughout the season, along with Heaven's shitty attempt at an apology, they all made it all too easy for Vox to climb up to being a massive threat this season. It just kinda reminds me of all the massive f***ups that led to Surnai Perfect Cell becoming Perfect Cell in Dragon Ball Z. And the songs. Songs. Vox had 7 songs this season. Trust us, once we get there, don't you forget Reprise, Bad With Us, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, and Brighter. I'm still debating which song is my favorite, but I think top 3 goes to Once We Get Up There because I find myself singing that one the most and its motif was used in other songs. Vox Dei for pure ore farming, as the kids like to call it, and Brighter because of Vox's backstory. Speaking on Brighter, I'm not entirely sure what I thought Vox would have looked like as a human, because with that TV head of his, he could have looked like anything. So when we did get to see Vincent Whitman, the design elements I didn't anticipate for were the cleft chin, the hook nose, and the heterochromatic eyes. I don't have too much to say about his design aside from he looks great, just a notch less hot than human Alistair. Nah, I'm kidding, they both look hot. It's just Vincent looks more unhinged, but that's not what I'm supposed to be talking about here, is it? This man was really out here murking everyone who dared to hold a position higher than him. Was improving your craft not an option? You just had to steal people's lives, their jobs, and their drip, huh? And based on the fact that we see his hair graying out over the course of the backstory, his ass was doing this for years. The way Vox just copies people is kinda scary, but at the same time, not one original thought in that head of his. Vox was very much the hammy yet intimidating character type that I liked with Adam, but unlike Adam, there was at least a moment or two that made me go, oh damn, I actually do kinda feel bad for you. And both those moments were connected to Alistair. Back in season 1 when Alistair talked about how Vox was pissy because Alistair rejected his invitation in a partnership, I came away from that thinking, oh, Vox is so obsessed with Alistair and he can't handle rejection. But then we see their interactions back in the past during It's a Deal and... oh my Vox is better than me. I would've cursed Alistair out before turning his ass into a venison buffet. Electrocuted medium rare because holy It would have been one thing if Alistair said no to the partnership. He was well within his rights to say no to it. If he said no, whether he was nice about it or not and Vox lashed out at him for it, then what I said earlier about what Alistair said in It Stayed Gone would have stuck. But oh no, that's not what happened. Alistair laughed at him, called him pathetic, called him weak, and called it embarrassing that Vox would even dare consider them friends. I couldn't imagine opening my heart to someone who I genuinely thought was my friend, being vulnerable like that, only to have my heart torn out, spat on, and stomped out like that. No wonder Vox hates Alistair. I would've hated him too, piece of And the sad part is, despite that invitation going up in flames, Alistair's grip on Vox's psyche was so tight that it's like Vox loses all his common sense the second Alistair comes into the mix. Seriously, even as early as Radio Killed the Video Star, Vox literally told Val that upholding the V's reputation is important, only to turn around and go on the offensive the second he found out Alistair came back from his 7-year absence, lose the equivalent of a rap battle, and knocked out the entire power to an entire city. If I was Val or Vel, I would have been on his damn head forever on that one. And then there's It's a Deal. Bro, Vox really shot himself in the foot for taking Alistair's deal to be his prisoner. I in general wonder how far Vox would have gotten with his deal to take over heaven, but since he kinda yada his way over the step on how he was gonna get out of hell to get to heaven, but that would have been a hiccup. on the road compared to allowing this to happen. Because the whole time Alistair was with the V's in the back half of season 2, Alistair managed to convince Vox that he is pathetic for relying on Valentino and Velvet for their help, prompting Vox to start pushing his friends aside to chase Alistair's approval, at the same time turning Val and Vel against Vox, like he's Katie Heron from Mean Girls. Speaking of which, Vox chasing after Alistair's approval, that's the parallel he shares with Charlie, as Charlie is looking for her mother's approval. The both of them gained so much tunnel vision to accomplish their goals that began to ignoring their allies in their respective sides, and the lack of community and communication led to things getting worse and worse over time. The only difference is that Charlie learned her lesson that she couldn't handle everything alone and apologized to her friends sooner, while Vox stuck to his guns and it cost him everything. Seriously, that moment when Vox declared that he was perfectly fine with offing himself and everyone around him if it meant Alistair would be hurt even a tiny bit by it, I genuinely thought, baby, please go get help. Still, I'm glad Val and Vel stopped him before things got worse, and while they were rightfully angry at Vox, I'm also glad that they recognized that Vox was still their friend and didn't just abandon him in his spiral into madness. Aside from his villainy, I feel like I put Vox this high on this list because of me simping over him. I know! I told myself I could never find any of the male cast in the Helliverse attractive for 2 reasons. 1, that would me admitting to be a furry, a monster or both. And 2, I already said Angel looked like Wilt from Foster, but most of the male cast deadass look like Black Hat from Villainous and goddamn Jack and Nurgle from Billy and Mandy, Cartoon Network looking ass. But honestly, I'm just gonna let this next clip I throw on screen speak for itself.
To continue, only you can bring honor and dignity back to the plague today. For years, it has been my goal to acquire the secret formula for... But okay, that's enough!
But back to Vox, I think it's this whole sexy CEO idea that drives people nuts about him. I see the vision, but girl, hell no, this man is pathetic, at all caps. You willingly want to get your back blown out by this man? You are a worm, a literal worm in the Wait, what's happening? Okay, I think I'm done talking about Vox for now. Next character, please.
Just because you see a smile, don't think you know what's going on underneath.
Ooh, this motherfucker. I know if this red freak wasn't anywhere on this list, I will be shot on sight. But I dodged that bullet, unlike the one that sent Alistair to hell. No, seriously, between Vox and Alistair's deaths, I'm still debating on which one is funnier. I think Alistair's death just edges it out a bit more due to the fact that he sold his soul just to end up in hell the very next day. Same day shipping. I don't even blame Rosie for laughing at him. I'm fighting everything in me not to laugh and I'm failing.
Hilarious!
Oh, Alistair, you had me at... Okay, all nonsense aside, Alistair is definitely one of my favorite characters. During the pilot era, Angel Dust was the character that had my attention, with all the depth that he had during the pilot, Dirty Healings, and the Attic music video. But Alistair wasn't that far behind. I already liked that pilot as a whole, but the back half of it was elevated by Alistair's inclusion. In general, Alistair steals the spotlight in any scene he's in. He just oozes charisma and charm, okay? Alistair is definitely a character. He's a radio host, he's a serial killer, a cannibal, he's a tall red deer demon with a permanent smile. Honestly, design-wise, he looks like as if Sebastian Michaelis and Girl Sutcliffe from Black Butler did the fusion dance and this is the final result, with some Alucard from Hellsing in there. I think the only thing in his design I'm not too crazy about are how puny his antlers are. I know they grow in size when he goes partial to full demon mode, but man, those things are so tiny I didn't register them when I first saw Alistair. Deadass, I thought that he was some kind of wolf or fox demon because of the sharp teeth, the many triangle shapes in his design, and the ears, paired with his sly, cunning personality. And the only thing on his design that I don't like is that ugly-ass undercut on the back of his bob. I hate seeing Alistair turned away from the viewers because my eyes are just forced to look at it, and I hate it!
Who the f*** is your barber? You need to take his clippers and slit his throat with them.
Also, he has no tail. Like, what the absolute f*** you mean he has no tail? Deer ears, check. Deer antlers, check. Deer hoofs, check. Deer tail, none. Actually, no. Until I see Alistair ass naked, I don't believe a single word that stupid rectangle has to say about it. Slightly off topic, I noticed Alistair's skin got slightly darker. Maybe a shade darker in Season 2, which I'm actually happy for because I think the more brownish color to his skin pairs better with the reds in his color palette, compared to that sickly A4 paper white skin that he had in Season 1. That's good, but please just let him have his curls back. Speaking of which, I didn't really pick up on why people were losing their minds over Alistair. I mean, I liked him, but I wasn't swayed by him right away. But then It's a Deal came out, and honestly, that was the Alistair thirst trap episode, because I get it now. That moment with Alistair, no coat, shirt halfway unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up, when he downed that rum with the cig in his hand, I felt like a Victorian man that just saw some bare ankles, okay? And that moment when he was offering his deal to Vox with that taunting ass voice of his.
All I ask for in exchange is 2 shiny, itty-bitty conditions.
Bro. Vox, you played yourself for taking that deal in the first place, but honestly, I don't think I would have been that much better. I would have folded like a lawn chair. And that's not touching the number of times he got tied up by both Rosie and Vox, especially with some of the positions they had him. At that point, I was like, okay, now you're just doing this on purpose. And again, human Alistair, they cooked with that design, okay? I see why he got packed up so soon. He was too beautiful for this world. But oh no, Alistair doesn't just have his looks, he also got brains. The way he played the long game and managed to use both the favor Charlie owed him and using what he knew about Vox to break all of his deals, genius. I screamed in actual fear when Vox unexpectedly broke the deal by actually putting his hands on Charlie.
You absolute idiot!
And let's not forget about the brawn. We were always told about how powerful Alistair was, and throughout the pilot in Season 1, no one could really stand up to him. That was until Adam literally damaged him and broke his staff. But the fact that a wounded, nerfed Alistair was still able to hold his own against all 3 of the Vs before Nifty and Husk arrived was really something. But that pales in comparison to the fight against Vox in Curtain Call. Now that shit looked like it was something straight out of an anime. And after everything Alistair went through in Season 2, it was really nice seeing him cut loose for once. And before I forget, I do want to touch a bit on his backstory. Honestly, him being canonically black does make me see Alistair in a bit more of a sympathetic light. He was alive during the Jim Crow era in the southern states of the United States, specifically Louisiana, and that was a rough-ass time period. So the fact that he managed to become a host of his own radio show despite all the racial barriers he had to overcome really makes Vox's situation look pathetic in comparison. Because I hate to say it, but I will. Black folks gotta put 200% into the things they do while white people put in the bare minimum and get praised for mediocrity. But hey, you didn't hear that from me. Even the reasons why they killed people were very different. Alistair would kill you because you disrespected him. Vox would kill you because your star happened to shine brighter than his own. But back to Alistair, him seeking to be powerful by the time he makes it to hell makes a lot more sense to me, since he'll be able to move as freely as possible compared to his human life. Granted, he sold his soul for that and ended up on a leash, but I guess that's better than getting your ass whooped by sinners for all eternity. But now onto some negativity. I'm gonna be so for real when I say this. The day I ever say I hate Alistair, it's not gonna be because of the show, and that's because I already recognize that Alistair is not a good person. The closest I got to genuinely hating Alistair was him telling Vox that he was pathetic for relying on others' help to gain power, knowing he pre-ordered his powers a day before his death, and that their friendship meant nothing to him. That was needlessly cruel, and extremely hypocritical on the relying on others aspect. But oh no, the real reason I will declare hating Alistair is gonna be because of his die-hard fans that treat him like some vulnerable little chicken fetus in an egg that could do no wrong. Normally, I think it's stupid to hate on a character or a piece of media because of the fandom surrounding it, but my god, y'all are getting me there. Seriously, after the events of Curtain Call, I was so close to just blocking the entire Radio Apple tag on Tumblr because of the awful takes I've seen. You had people going, oh, I hope Alistair becomes a villain because of the way the Hazbin gang treated him, or Charlie doesn't care about Alistair, or Lucifer. Why didn't she go check on him? She's so selfish. Bro, I have not blocked so many people in a long time because I didn't feel like arguing back and forth with them on this. In general, I can't stand people who like a problematic character and then act like that character can do no wrong, and would make 1,000,001 excuses to justify their action/behavior. Even worse when they demonize the characters their problematic favorite character has hurt in any way. Y'all be on Alistair's dick so much, you would make Vox jealous. Like, let's be so for real, Alistair since day mother1 has only been out for himself. From the moment he walked into the hotel to the end of the pilot, he made it abundantly clear that he thought redemption wasn't possible, that he thought what Charlie and the others were doing was ridiculous, and that he was only interested in helping because the idea of the hotel failing was entertaining to him. And that was very much consistent throughout season 1 and 2 of the main series. Wow, what a truly altruistic guy, right?
Wrong!
Even the idea that no one at the hotel cares about him. Whose fault is that exactly outside of Alistair? Mr. There are no friends in hell. The only relationships I can't fault Alistair in regards to not being friends with is Rosie and to a certain extent Mimsy. Rosie owned his soul, and while I could say Mimsy was his friend, she really only seemed to enjoy what she could get out of him. But as far as the Hazbin gang goes, hell no! That's all on him. He has no relationship with Angel Dust, Cherry Bomb, or Baxter. He hardly acknowledged Serpentius' existence, period. He treats Husk worse than how Rosie treats him. Vaggi didn't trust him from the get-go, but let's be real, if a well-known cannibalistic serial killer pulled up at your doorstep, would you have opened that door? And he and Lucifer hate each other. The only amicable relationships he does have at the hotel are Charlie and Nifty, but even then those relationships come with their own problems. For Charlie, he already made it clear that he thinks that her dream is a waste of time, and waited until she was desperate enough to make a deal with him, which he then used said deal to humiliate her in front of everyone and free himself from both Rosie and Rox's deals. And Nifty, this might be the only genuine relationship Alistair has, as Nifty is the only one who Alistair is fine with physical contact with. They enjoy each other's presence, they saved each other during the fight against the V's in It's a Deal, and Alistair even kept the roach crown she made him. That was really sweet. But where I'm iffy on are two reasons. Number one, Alistair owns Nifty's soul, and number two, Alistair's threat to Rosie in Curtain Call. To this day, I still don't know if he was bluffing or not about letting everyone, including Nifty, die if Rosie didn't fix his staff. I want to say yes because he could have just easily shadowed away if he really wanted to leave everyone to their demise, but still. So no, I do not feel bad for him when he was so-called left alone to bleed on the ground. If you're gonna portray yourself as some big scary boogeyman who doesn't need anyone by your side, you don't get to be upset that no one comes to your aid. They'll believe that you can just handle yourself just fine. And even if they did come to help Alistair, do you seriously think that he would have accepted it in the first place? Look at how annoyed he was when Emily came to rescue him from the jaws of Shockwave. Alistair would choose death a second time before he would properly allow himself to be vulnerable with anyone. Okay, truthfully, with the way I've been talking about Alistair, you would think that I hate him, but really I don't. I just know I will take shots at him at any chance I get. I hate him as a person, but I love his character. I love that he's full of himself. He knows who he is, and he isn't going to pretend to be anything other than that. I love how intelligent and cunning he is. I love that he is willing to throw anyone and everyone under the bus to get what he wants. I love that he is a bad person, which is why the wooification of Alistair from that part of the fandom pisses me off so much. Yes, it would be nice to imagine if he does a face turn, changes for the better, and forms genuine bonds with the rest of the cast, but that's not who Alistair is in canon. At least for now, and you guys gotta understand that. And speaking of another character that the fandom tends to infantilize, onto my second favorite character.
Oh, call me Daddy. Wait, no, don't. Call me Lou.
Oh, Lucifer, my darling little ducky. The apple of my eye, my golden little oddball. I did not expect myself to love you as much as I do, but I do. Sadly, you'll have to settle for second place, but hey, you outranked the TV headman and especially the red loudspeaker, so yay for you! Design-wise, Viv herself said Lucifer was the only character she designed with the intention to be sexy, and yeah, I believe her. His original design, it's a little Muppet looking, but I do think he's adorable. But when I saw him in this first time in his demon form, I was like, now hold on. When I saw him in that damn Valentine's Day outfit in the black with the fishnet top and the hip windows, I said, now hold on, where are we going with all this? When I saw that long ass snake tongue of his, I was like, what are you doing with all that? When I saw him in those damn pink pajamas with the rubber ducks glued onto them, he lied down on the bed and his ass was pointed towards the viewer. I said, okay, Mr. Thickums, where'd all that come from? Lilith, please, if you don't want him anymore, let me be. I promise I'll be good to him. Okay, that's 3 characters in a row I've been talking about freaky shit. I'm done, I promise. Anyways, when I went back to rewatch the pilot for this video, I was actually surprised to see that Lucifer was in fact in the pilot, just in the far background in that shot with Camilla, Zestiel, and Zizi. As many times as I've watched the pilot, I never noticed that before. But on Lucifer, I, along with many others, thought he was gonna be an asshole based on what Charlie said about him and how he was presented. So imagine my surprise when Dad Beat Dad came out and he was just this goofy, depressed little recluse.
Take that, impression.
Like seriously, I didn't think I would find Lucifer that relatable because I too am depressed. I also struggle with remembering things. Socializing takes a lot out of me. Forming and maintaining relationships are difficult for me. I use my art as a means of coping and escapism. Sometimes I say things without thinking first.
Oh, I'm the only one that matters. See, you messed with my daughter, and now I am going to f you.
Well, this just got interesting.
It's f you up, Dad.
Wait, what did I say?
Like, wow, you're just like me for real. But back onto the parenting part of his character, I don't think Charlie's daddy issues are unfounded. I know what I'm going to say next might be super controversial, but please hear me out. For one, as much as I like Lucifer as a character, I don't think he's that great of a dad. Now, before you skin me, I don't think he's a horrible father either. The Helliverse is chock full of dads and their children having some kind of daddy issues because of it. But hell's greatest dad? Lucifer? Really? Buddy, I don't even think you're the greatest dad in the Pride Ring. Not when Stolas and especially Blitz exist, okay? You're like 3rd place at best. I completely understand that Lucifer suffers a lot from depression, which leads to things like social withdrawal and functional impairment. But man, his long absence really put a huge strain on his relationship with Charlie. In fact, while I'm glad the two of them giving their relationship another try was a great start, after the events of season 1, I felt like Lucifer moving into the Hazbin Hotel happened way too quickly. In general, Charlie wasn't that close to her father in the first place, but 7 years is too long of a time to not be in your daughter's life, especially when she could have used some guidance sooner than later. From the show must go on to New Penches, only a month of time passed. Baby, you're still on probational time. And that doesn't help that after he joined the hotel, he wasn't doing much of anything. Yes, that moment where he pulled Charlie away from the news crew to have a sidebar chat between him and Charlie was really sweet, but the fact that before he teleported away from the lobby, he threw a jab at Alistair as if he's trying to prove a point, like, come on, man. So, because of that, I don't feel bad for Lucifer when Charlie lashed out at him in silence.
You need to leave!
Yes, Lucifer confronting Vox was Vaggi's idea, and he did initially say no to the idea because of his inability to harm sinners. But even knowing all of that, the second Alistair's name got brought into the conversation, immediately he switched his tune. Okay, so your dick measuring contest with the stupid deer man is more important than helping your daughter who's been bullied by the media for weeks. Okay, Lou. I think it's also worth noting that if Lucifer succeeded in hurting or even killing Vox, all that would have done is confirm exactly what Vox was talking about, turn Vox into a martyr in the eyes of the sinners, and contradict what the Hazbin Hotel stands for. Lucifer hates sinners and doesn't even care what happens to them. So much so that he gave the condition that only sinners would be killed in the exterminations and not the hellborn demons like Charlie. Also, the hotel is meant to be open for sinners who want to change themselves on their own terms, and intimidating and threatening or beating them into submission is not the Hazbin way. I'm not saying Charlie did nothing wrong in that situation, I touched a bit on it during Vaggi's part of the video, but I guess I'll go into that later. Oh, and before any of you come in my comments talk about some, but what about Lilith? Until we know for sure why she's in heaven and not contacting her husband and especially her daughter for years on end, I'm going to reserve my judgment. But Lucifer, nah, you're gonna have to carry the neglectful parent title for the both of y'all. Speaking a little more on the can't hurt sinners thing, I can't believe people heard that and claimed Lucifer got nerfed, which, no, that's called giving limitations to an overpowered character. I'm gonna be honest here, when season 1 ended, one of my biggest worries was Lucifer's inclusion to the Hazbin gang. Because we know how powerful he is, I was worried that no future antagonist could pose a threat to the protagonist anymore, cause they could just let Lucifer handle it. Especially since I initially felt like going from Adam to the Bees as the next threat was a downgrade. But then season 2 rolled in and all these worries that I had were fixed more or less. In general, when you have an overpowered character in a story, you have to give them reasons why they can't just easily do away with every problem that comes their way. Because if not, it's gonna make for a boring story. Also, Lucifer's punishment only applies to sinners, which means that he can still fight and or kill hellborn demons, heaven-born angels, and winners. Which is why he was able to smack the goofy out of Adam in The Show Must Go On. And I know I mentioned it earlier in the Alistair section, but Lucifer is another character the fandom tends to woobify a lot and I hate it. While it's nowhere near as egregious as Alistair, I still find it pretty annoying, at least when the second half of season 2 was airing. Lucifer is a grown man, older than dirt, okay? Married and has an adult child, okay? People going, oh, he was just trying to help. Charlie's so mean and such a spoiled brat. Why didn't she go to him when he was hurt? Charlie's so selfish. Bitch! It is not Charlie's job to maintain the relationship when he acts more like a benefactor than a parent. Also, Lucifer is the strongest bastard to walk the brimstone streets of hell. 99% of the time he was locked inside the mind of Lilith wasn't even taken seriously, but he was stuck in the bad tickle box. And even when he crawled out of that crater, do you think he's on his deathbed? Hell no! His Looney Tunes ass is fine. I think. Would I have liked a short moment of him and Charlie reconciling? Sure, but it's not the goddamn end of the world, you piss babies! It may seem like I'm dunking a lot on Lucifer, but I do really love his character, and if you truly appreciate a character, you have to talk about both the good and bad things about them. I really do hope for the better for him in the future seasons, because I feel like season 2 kinda did him dirty in terms of doing anything with his character that didn't involve the plot. I think a character arc I would have really liked seeing with Lucifer would be him trying and kind of failing to build relationships with both the guests and the other members of the hotel. Maybe he would struggle not only because of his poor social skills, but also because of his prejudice towards sinners. Going into season 3, I really hope that the underlying issues between Lucifer and Charlie get fully addressed, because it's pretty clear that they have always been there and they haven't been resolved yet. I hope Lucifer slowly learns to not keep pretending that nothing is going wrong and actually start to confront his problems. Aside from Morningstar family angst for season 3, I need more back and forth with Alistair and Lucifer. I don't know 100% how I feel about Radio Apple, but honestly I don't think I would ever be mad if the two of them got together. At least in a way where Alistair tries to manipulate Lucifer and he just accidentally falls in love with that damn gremlin instead, and he hates every second of it.
Oh, no chance, no way, I won't say it, no, no. Give up, give in.
That would be hilarious. If not, I can just settle with them beefing. I like that also.
Sir, will you please stop staring at me? Where's the rest of you?
Lastly, please let this man get his own song. I don't mind more than anything because it's a touching song between father and daughter, but he got done so dirty in Hell's Great as that, and especially Vox Populi. Now before I get to the number 1 spot, I'd like to give a few honorable mentions to the characters who unfortunately didn't make the list. Honestly, looking back, I'm surprised with how many female characters ended up in the honorable mentions category instead of on the main list, which sucks because I think compared to its sister series, Hazbin Hotel has a pretty decent female cast, who aren't satellite characters to the male cast. But I want more out of them, damn it! More backstory, more storylines, more to work with. I'm not saying it's bad, I just want more. It's like a half glass of water on a hot day. Tastes great, but not enough to quench my thirst. I think if this was a top 15 list instead of top 10, Nifty and Emily would have been competing for 11th place. Honestly, I've always liked Nifty. While she's nowhere near as complex of a character as anyone else on this list, she is very much a comic relief character and she succeeds in that very well. I don't think there's a single scene with Nifty as the focus that didn't make me laugh or crack a smile. Clean It Up is such a nonsensical song, but I'm all for fun. And I think the chibi anime art style it switched to halfway through was pretty adorable. Despite me saying she's not overly complex, I am super curious about her past. I was very surprised to know that Nifty was a former overlord when she used her powers to help contain the might of Lilith. I mean, I guess in retrospect it did make sense considering how she was capable of fighting Valentino and Velvet, two overlords in their own right, but it wasn't explicitly mentioned outright like it was with Husk and Masquerade. Still, I want to know what Nifty was the overlord of and how she came to be working with Alistair. Also, I think her relationship with Baxter is pretty cute. I initially thought their dynamic was going to be straight man, odd woman, but not. Baxter is all for Nifty's nutty antics, as he made an entire orchestra for her and ignored the performance. It's something small, but it's just too cute for me, okay? To me, Emily is Charlie, but with a little less bite to her character. Like, if they were both marshmallows, Charlie would be slightly toasted. Still, I love that she was one of the first people to be on board with the idea of redeeming sinners and having them ascend to heaven. Even more so when the exterminations were unintentionally revealed by Adam, and she was rightfully pissed at Sarah for not only hiding the existence of the exterminations from her and the rest of heaven, but also letting them happen in the first place. That moment in You Didn't Know where she and Charlie go off on Sarah and the others lived rent-free in my head for so long.
If hell is forever, then heaven must be a lie. Emily. If angels can do whatever and remain in the sky, the rules are shades of gray when you don't do as you say, when you make the wretched suffer just to kill them again.
I already mentioned how nice it was for her to make Penchis feel welcomed in heaven, but I also have to commend her for her bravery. That moment when Vox was firing the blast from the might of Lilith and killing sinners, the way she and Charlie were doing what they could do to save any sinner they could reach, and then she rescued Alistair from the blast only to get hit and permanently lose one of her wings in the process. Just holy shit, man. Also, she was the first person to use her powers to contain the might of Lilith to keep it from blowing up and killing off half of Pentagram City. She is an angel through and through. Also, I think she, Charlie, and Vaggi would make for a lovely throuple. Deadass, 2 years ago, if you asked me who I thought owned Alistair's soul, I probably would have said Lilith, since her disappearance from hell lined up with Alistair's disappearance for 7 years. So you could imagine how shocked I was when it was revealed to be the lady who I thought was Alistair's best friend. This didn't deter me at all from Rosie's character though. I have always liked her since Hello Rosie in Season 1, and to be honest, if I had to sell my soul to any of the heavy-hitting overlords, Rosie would have been my first pick for sure. She seems to genuinely care about the souls under her thumb. I mean, yeah, she does dehumanize Alistair by calling him her pet, but hey, he does the same thing and worse to Husk, so I don't care. Let the dirty deer man suffer a little bit more, I'm enjoying it. And yes, I'll admit, I am jealous to know that she had Alistair's soul. You mean to tell me you had Alistair, of all demons, at your beck and call? That's not fair! Wow, I am no better than Vox, oh my lord. Okay, in all seriousness, aside from Lilith, Rosie is the character I want to know more about the most. What even is she? If I remember correctly, sinners and overlords can't access Earth, I think. So, I'm guessing she could be Hellborn or maybe Heavenborn, but a fallen angel maybe? I don't know. Aside from that, I want to know why she made Alistair go offline for so long, and why she need him there at the hotel. What interest does she have in the hotel in the first place? Please, I need answers! During the time Hazbin Hotel was just the pilot and other non-canon material, I was watching Hell of a Boss as it was airing. So I was aware of Carmilla and angelic weapons in the Helloverse as far back as the Harvest Moon Festival, when Moxie identified the gun Stryker was going to use to assassinate Stolas. So in retrospect, I don't think it should be that big of a surprise that the demon who sells angelic weapons is the one who managed to kill the first exorcist throughout all the exterminations. Granted, if you jumped into Season 1 of Hazbin Hotel without that prior knowledge, it would feel weird that a character that we were just introduced to was the culprit and not someone we already knew, especially with how much involvement Camilla had to the plot. And while I still kind of feel that way with how the angelic steel mystery was handled, I still enjoyed Camilla. I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but I do enjoy the designs of the characters in the Helloverse. I think the biggest complaint I have with the designs, aside from the identical shades of red used on a lot of the characters, is the lack of ears. I'm not saying every character should have ears, but I feel like the more humanoid characters could have them, especially the ones who wear earrings like Camilla and Velvet. Like, the f*** is that shit hooked up to? Aside from that, I honestly question if Camilla is really a sinner, or maybe she was originally heavenborn and now as a fallen angel. I think I feel that way because her color scheme is pretty similar to Vaggi's and how much she knew about the Exorcist and the angelic steel. Earlier I said Rosie would be my first pick if I had to sell my soul to any overlord, but Camilla is an immediate second choice. Seriously, this woman decapitated a whole exorcist, risking hell to fall into war with heaven all to protect her daughters. Granted, I know she can come off as a bit selfish at times, as she has no real loyalty to anyone as long as she can keep the people she cares about safe, but hey, we support women's wrongs here. Speaking of women's wrongs, Loot. I talked a lot about her in the Adam section of the video, but I do think she's a great character in her own right. Though I will say this, despite really enjoying Season 2, I have some qualms with it here and there, one of which is how Loot was handled this season. Honestly, they should have pushed her being a threat into the next season. Granted, they did the same thing with the V's in Season 1 where they were introduced early and did else minus Valentino, so I shouldn't be that surprised. Plus, with only 8 episodes this season, it would have done nothing but bloat the story if we had 2 major villains to worry about. But man, did she feel wasted here. Gravity was such an amazing song, and I feel like it was wasted in a season where she wasn't the main focus. While I do understand her disdain for sinners, because again, not every sinner you come across is gonna be Serpentious, and they were probably in hell for a good reason, it's really coming from a place of her justifying the slaughter of them. If I could place all of the Hazbin Hotel characters on a morality alignment chart, I would put Loot under lawful evil. She is perfectly content with the corrupt system Heaven had created, and saw to it that anyone who deviated from Heaven's strict order deserved to be cut down, which is why she was so upset that no one was listening to her, and why she felt so validated when the angels got to see firsthand how evil a sinner could be in someone like Vox. Despite how awful of a person she is, especially with what she and Adam did to Vaggi, holy I can't help but feel bad for her in Storyteller, at least in regards to her grieving over Adam and her deteriorating mental state. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but I legit did not expect Wu to full on be in love with Adam, so the fact that he died before she can let him know is pretty heartbreaking to say the least. I'm gonna be honest here, this is another problem I have with season 2. I don't think the show gave us enough time with the new characters introduced this season, not until they were needed for the plot. I only mentioned Baxter only a handful of times, and I can kinda say the same thing for Abel. I wanted more Abel, damn it! Granted, Abel gets a lot more credit from me because of the Abrahamic mythology surrounding him. Plus, I think he's super cute. Seriously, what's with Hazbin Hotel and giving us so many cute little blonde bitches? First Charlie, then Lucifer, Mimsy, St. Peter, and now Abel? Speaking of which, it does make me wonder why he's blonde. Maybe Eve was made to be a replica of Lilith and Abel has her hair color. Also, he had the best part in Hear My Hope. Thank you for your service, Patrick Stump. I'm gonna go and listen to more Fall Out Boy once I'm done with this recording. If anything, I was just happy to see more of Velvet in season 2. Between Vox's one-sided rivalry with Alistair and everything that has to do with Valentino, Velvet is the most overlooked V in my opinion. But make no mistake, she is equally as awful as her associates. People tend to view Velvet as the least awful of the three, but I disagree. And the only reason I feel that way is because she's the only V who hasn't harmed one of the Hazbin gang directly, especially the fan favorite Angel Dust. Mark my words, if we had a scene of Velvet testing out her love potions on a bunch of the V employees, Angel Dust included, and then proceeded to let bad things happen after that, y'all would be calling for her damn execution. And I know what'll happen, because fandom tends to be lenient with male characters when they do something wrong, but female characters have their actions put under a damn microscope and demonized for a fraction of what the male cast do. And it's even worse when said female character is black or non-white. Morality aside, Velvet has the best fits out of the entire cast. I love that her cineform is a doll, so she has the ability to wear any outfit or style her hair anyhow she wants. I don't think there's a single outfit she has worn that I actually dislike, which is insane. Also, her powers. Between her and Husk, they have the most unique and visually appealing powers in the entire cast. Again, I'm not even sure how these powers work, but it was nice to see them in action against Alistair and Husk in It's a Deal and Nifty in Curtain Call. Honestly, she is super lucky compared to other sinners that she was reborn in hell with an ideal body. It makes me wonder what kind of life she lived when she was alive and how exactly she died. Speaking of which, how the f did we have the V's as the main bad guys in season 2 and we don't even get any info on how they formed as a group? If I could change anything in season 2, I would cut out all the Luke stuff this season and use that screen time towards a backstory for both Velvet and Valentino and how they came to meet Vox. That would have been great! Honestly, my disclaimer at the beginning of the video was because of this one character for some reason. In general, I'm high-key sick of the double standards in this fandom in regards to liking villainous characters. Seriously, you can say I like Alistair or I like Vox and no one will bat an eye, but the second you say I like Valentino and now all of a sudden you're a apologist. Which, no? In general, when it comes to problematic characters, there's two extremes of people I can't stand. I mentioned this back in the Alistair and Lucifer parts of the video, but I'll reiterate them here. I can't stand the people who like a problematic character but genuinely believe they can do no wrong and would make 1,000,001 excuses to justify their actions or behavior. Even worse when they demonize the characters their problematic favorite character has hurt in any way. And on the other extreme, I equally can't stand people who think that if you like a problematic character, automatically it means that you condone the actions and behaviors of said problematic character and that you're just as bad as that character. The latter of that extreme is what I tend to see with Valentino, and it's f***ing annoying. In fact, I like that Valentino isn't a because to me, he's the most realistic depiction of an person I've seen in a long time. Do not act the same exact way to other people as they do with their victims, which is why Valentino feels different when he's with the other V's compared to when he's with Angel Dust. It's that exact reason why it's so difficult for victims to come forward about their because most people don't see that monstrous side of them and go, oh, I didn't think that they were that capable of doing something like that, or, oh, well, they don't treat me like that, so I'm just not so sure. And no, I don't think adding more dimensions to Valentino's character is absolving him of any of his crimes, especially to Angel Dust. I'm not saying that you have to like Valentino, you're well within your rights to like or dislike any character you want, but if you claim to hate him but give the other two V's or characters like Alistair a pass, I'm side-eyeing the f*** out of you, because all three of them ain't. I also like Valentino because of his sense of style. While Velvet is the true fashionista of the V's, I would be lying if I said that he wasn't dripped out. I was pretty surprised that his coat was actually his wings wrapped around him. He can be pretty funny at times too, like that moment when Vox made a pretty racist statement about not understanding Valentino's island language, and Valentino yells off screen, "I'm from Florida," before chucking a martini glass at Vox's head. That had me hollering.
Ay, ya no puedo con este.
You know I can't understand you when you speak that island language, Val. Anyone else got to say?
I'm from Florida.
Ow!
Oh, and I can't forget that he's a great artist. Like, out of all the characters in the entire cast, I was surprised that the one genuine artist of the Helloverse would be Valentino. But when I saw that sketch he did of a bound and gagged Vox, I was like, oh, now hold on, that actually looks great. But then I remembered who drew it and I was like, oh. And one more thing, after rewatching that Hazbin drawing with Valentino video from the Vox Tech website, I need a V spin-off like yesterday. Making an adult version of Ed, Edd and Eddy, I would 100% watch that. Call it Val, Vel, and Vox.
I love you guys. Like, really love you.
Oh Charlie, the fandom will never make me hate you. Yeah, if you think I was gonna put Charlie any lower than #1 on this list, you're out of your goddamn mind. If Charlie Morningstar has no fans, I'm dead. I'm talking dead in the ground, counting worms, okay? While Charlie wasn't my #1 favorite going into Hazbin Hotel during the pilot era, that was Angel for a while, I had liked her from the get-go. The idea of a Disney princess but in hell really fascinated me, and I love Disney princesses. My personal favorites are Tiana, Mulan, Belle, Ariel, and Rapunzel, so Charlie will fit right up there with the rest of the girls. I'm not gonna lie, design-wise, going from the pilot to the main series, Charlie's redesign was the one I wasn't too crazy about. At first. It has very much grown on me over time. Normally, I'm not the type of person who likes monochromatic outfits that don't break up the colors here and there. Plus, I feel like the pinks broken up with the blacks was a cute look on Charlie. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, I do think Charlie's current outfit looks more professional and clean, especially her hair compared to the low-tie ponytail. I just felt like the pilot design suited her character better, but hey, that's just my personal opinion. I think the moment that really won me over with Charlie as a character was when she tried to call Lilith after she, Vaggi, and Angel returned to the Happy Hotel after the failed interview with 666 News, and Angel does his fight with Cherry Bomb against Serpentious. As someone who is desperately trying to make something of themselves, it really sucks when progress constantly feels like an uphill battle, especially when you have people in your ear constantly telling you that what you're doing is just a waste of time.
Hey, Mom. I know I keep calling, and you must be busy. Really busy. But, the interview didn't go well, and I don't know if I'm going to make a difference. I don't know what I'm doing. I could really use some advice, Mom. I think Dad was right about me. Well, anyway, I'll stop talking before this gets long. Love you. Bye.
And that didn't really help that the word failure had been repeated multiple times throughout the pilot.
Why have I always been a failure? What can the reason be?
Well, it sure looks like your little project is dead on arrival. Tell us, how does it feel to be such a total failure?
Considered an investment in ongoing entertainment for myself. I want to watch the scum of the world struggle to climb up the hill of betterment, only to repeatedly trip and tumble down to the fiery pit of failure.
Also, in general, I love happy-go-lucky, optimistic, spirited characters in my media, especially when they are the main character. Bonus points if they live in a setting where misery runs rampant and they try to either make the most of it or make things better for the people living there. So of course I was gonna like Charlie, you want me to lie? Now I know Charlie is usually not most people's favorite character, and that's fine, you're allowed to like or dislike any character you want. But a part of me feels like the dislike of Charlie's character comes from either a lack of understanding of her character, her not getting the most focus despite being the protagonist, or the worst option, misogyny. I'll get to that last one later, because while I did touch on it here and there throughout the video, I'll finally be addressing Charlie's part of it. For the lack of understanding her character, I feel like people boil her character down to the happy dumb one, and while it is true that she is a bright-eyed girl, there's more to her than that. She's compassionate, she's idealistic, she's impulsive, she's naive, she's merciful, she's stubborn as and I love all of that about her. As for Charlie quote-unquote not getting the most focus despite being the protagonist, while I do think it's a tough balancing act to make side characters interesting but also reminding the audience that the main character is the main character for a reason, she still is pretty active in the main plot, but at the same time we as the audience still need to be acquainted with the rest of the cast. Rewatching season 1, I would say Hello Rosie was definitely a Charlie episode, but every other episode Charlie was at least doing something. Some of these things were what drove the plot forward, or showing more facets to her character like any good protagonist would. In Overture, she went to the Heaven Embassy to talk to Adam about the idea of the hotel and redemption, only for it to be shot down and the next extermination day was moved up to 6 months. In Radio Killed the Video Star, Charlie welcomed Serpentius as a guest for real to the hotel, which kickstarted Serpentius' character development and redemption. In Scrambled Eggs, she struggled to relinquish control and trust Vaggi to take charge of the trust exercises. In Masquerade, she tried to talk to Valentino herself to allow Angel more time at the hotel, only to make things worse with her naivety and rashness. In Dad Beat Dad, she tried and succeeded to convince Lucifer to set up a new meeting with Heaven's higher-ups to pitch the hotel, as well as giving the relationship between herself and her father a retry. In Welcome to Heaven, she and Vaggi go to Heaven to discuss the hotel and prove redemption is possible, even coming to Angel Dust's defense when the angels declare that he isn't worth redeeming. But these efforts go up in flame when Heaven declines the idea of redeeming a sinner, and Vaggi is revealed to be a former exorcist to Charlie, the very angels that killed sinners in the last extermination, putting a massive strain on their relationship. In Hello Rosie, Charlie was in such a vulnerable emotional state after the last episode, she struck a deal with Alistair to get them what they needed to defend themselves against the Exorcist army. She also had to contend with her feelings of betrayal at Vaggi's lies, but managed to navigate through them with the help of Rosie, prompting her to forgive Vaggi and the two reconcile. In The Show Must Go On, Charlie stands by her friends to take on Adam and the Exorcist, and despite everything that happened in that war, her friends equally stand by her side to pick up the pieces and rebuild the hotel when it got destroyed. Charlie may not have the most immediate focus, but she's definitely the beacon that brought her closest allies together to the hotel, as without her, the exterminations would likely still be occurring, and we will never know if redemption was even possible. As for the misogyny thing, to me, it feels like people in fandom only like female characters when she's either a girl boss or she's putting everyone else's needs above her own. And if she deviates from these expectations, she's annoying, she's selfish, she's a bitch, you get the idea. And that kind of is what happened to Charlie during season 2. I guarantee you, if Charlie was a man, I don't think people would have been on her neck the same way they were during season 2. Again, I'm not saying she did nothing wrong. Hell, even the narrative wasn't even on Charlie's side during her f***ups this season, but I feel like people aren't even trying to understand why she was acting the way she was. You don't have to agree with someone's actions in order to understand why they did them in the first place. Understandable, but not justified, you know? I also don't know how the people watch season 2 and claim Charlie had no arc. If her arc in season 1 was stepping up and using her position as heir to the throne of hell to protect her citizens from being slaughtered at the hands of heaven, then season 2 was her arc of realizing that just because she's the leader of her respective regime doesn't mean that she has to do everything on her own. Community is important because there isn't a single person, dead or alive, who was able to go through their entire existence without the help of people around them. Also, it's important to know our limits, which is why it was such a big moment of growth for Charlie to give the manager position to Vaggi at the end of the season. I do what you can't do and you do what I can't do, or whatever the hell Sanji's told Usopp in Enies Lobby. Charlie was spiraling hard in season 2, okay? Only a month passed after The Show Must Go On and she was still grieving over Serpentius' supposed death. Even more so, she felt like the whole war that took place was her fault that she could have prevented so that no one had to die. I'm not a psychologist, so if I say anything wrong, that's on me and I apologize in advance. But to me, it seemed like Charlie was going through an anxiety spiral. What causes anxiety spirals? Things like uncertainty, past trauma, and perfectionism can all play a part in that. Up until Emily popped up to hell to tell Charlie that Serpentius was alive and well in heaven, Charlie thought he died for nothing and that she wasn't even sure if redemption was truly possible. She's been trying so hard to figure out how to get the hotel to redeem sinners, not just because she wants to help them, but also in hopes that it would bring Lilith back into her life, and that her mother would be proud of her. And what are the usual symptoms of an anxiety spiral? You start to obsess over negativity, you're not able to focus on the task at hand or straight up neglect your responsibilities, you lash out at people, you withdraw from friends and family, and you repeat past mistakes, aka regressing. And guess what? Charlie did exactly all of these things. Because of Vox constantly slandering her in the hotel, Charlie was desperate to clear her name and show that she wasn't a bad person. Of course, she shot herself in the hoof there trying to deal with all of this because she had no media training. Because she was so focused on trying to clear her name, she began to neglect her responsibilities of helping the sinners who actually do want to give redemption a try. Hell, there was a whole sinner that was there all season, genuinely enjoying all the activities at the hotel. Shout out to Rooster. She snapped at Lucifer and especially Vaggi for screwing things up in silence, while absolving herself from any blame. She ignored the advice her friends were giving her, which made things worse in the long run, and she overstepped with Angel projecting Penchas onto him, as well as trying to redeem him on live when she wasn't even sure how Penchas got to heaven in the first place. But once again, the narrative was not on Charlie's side, and she was called out by many characters, and there were consequences for her actions. It took her getting out of her own head to see her actions have been hurting the people she cared about. Another reason why I loved her apology to Vaggi in Scream Rain. Unlike the apology she gave Angel back in Masquerade, she acknowledged what she did wrong and apologized for the right thing. And I loved Vaggi's response to Charlie slipping back into her anxiety spiral. She assures Charlie that she loves her, she has Charlie focus on what's in front of her, and she creates a distraction to help her calm down. Good old Hazbin Lex. But on a serious note, engaging in a straightforward activity does help with anxiety spirals. Again, if anything I said about anxiety spirals is wrong, that's on me and I apologize. You can definitely make the argument that Charlie should have been the one who fought and took down Adam, but as far as Vox goes, not so much. With all of the propaganda Vox was throwing Charlie all season, violence wasn't going to be the simplest solution. Seriously, as cool as Alistair versus Vox was, you can easily cut that fight out and not much would have changed, outside of Alistair getting his aura points back. Anyways, Vox didn't give two worth of flying about the sinners he rallied together to take over heaven, but Charlie does. But words are cheap. If she had to prove her words to be true, she had to be about it. Charlie and Emily saving the sinners that were caught up in the battle, along with the fact that they were the first ones to contain the Might of Lilith, showed exactly that. Going into season 3 and onward, I really hope Angel and Charlie reconcile. And I am more or less not ready for the Morningstar family angst between her, Lucifer, and Lilith, because that cliffhanger with Charlie on the phone with Lilith, or who we think is Lilith, had me shook. Bottom line is, I think Charlie is a great character and y'all need to put some damn respect on her name. And that's the video. God damn, this video was way more ambitious than I expected. But it was fun and I am happy that I made it. Comment the black heart emoji if you made it to the end of the video, and tell me who your favorite characters are and why. I'm curious to know. I hope you all enjoyed your stay in the land of the clouds, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with anyone, just anyone, follow me on the socials listed below, and now I send you off with these parting words. Flowers wilt, smiles fall, and sunshine dims to rain, but difficult times don't last forever, and I hope to see you again.